What's good? What's good, you powerful spirits? So glad to be with you here on tonight, A.G. Green Sr. Spiritual Awakening with Dr. A.G. Green Sr. You know what to do. Tag and share. Share and tag. Tag and share. Share and tag. Glad to see you this evening. Speakers, you're coming to this digital assembly, this digital space, and invite some folk to join the party. Good evening to you, pastor and therapist Jerry Cotton. Others are coming in. Tag and share, share and tag. As usual, I'm honored and privileged to share this space with you this particular evening. What a wonderful day it is, despite what time it may be in the world when you watch us, whether live or in replay. It is a tremendous, tremendous honor for me to speak with you tonight and to fellowship with you in this particular way. Almighty, we're grateful for who and what you are, what you've done, what you're doing. Thank you for this great divine partnership. Thank you for our co-creating and co-manifesting opportunities. We speak as you lead us and guide us, and I thank you for the hearts and minds that are changed in the best ways possible from your words that are transmitted through me tonight. Thank you for this fellowship. Thank you for the growth of it. And we thank you for the productivity of it. We praise you in advance in Yeshua's name, by his way and his consciousness. It is so, and so it is. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. I always like to, again, thank you for tuning in. You could have been doing other things, but you decided to take some time with me on this particular day. And I am so honored to be with you. I always like to remind you that you are made in the image and likeness of what I believe to be an all-powerful spiritual being. We are the offspring, according to Paul, his offspring. And therefore, we are a powerful spiritual species. And so I want you to type quickly in the comment section, I am powerful. Matter of fact, while you're typing it, I want you to speak it because I want you to own the power. I want you to own the power. I want you to speak the power. And I also want you to own the power. Come on, type it in the comment section and declare it and decree it in your environment. I am powerful. You're powerful by permission of the Almighty. You're powerful by permission of God. You're powerful by permission of the divine. Indeed, you are. And there's something about when you say it and you know it, you feel that tingling, you sense that energy surging, you feel and sense the presence of God when you dare to say it from a state of being unashamed, being bold, being brave, and being full of the Spirit and one with the Spirit. When you say it, you actually feel what you say. Oh, this is so good, so good, so good. I'm so excited and delighted to be with you all here on today. What a wonderful honor and privilege it is to see you on. Take care of a few housekeeping things. Don't forget, we're on patreon.com/AG Green Now. Download the Patreon app and type AG Green Now. And the community is called Revolution Inc. Revolution Inc. That will come up. That's the name of our spiritual community. We're growing and expanding every week. And I want you to make sure that you connect with us on that particular platform. And if you're touched by the word tonight, I want to also encourage you to sow a seed later on in the program. If you're not following me yet, make sure you follow, like, and subscribe on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, and YouTube. They all are basically AG Green Now. So make sure you connect with us on AG Green Now on the various platforms. Like and give hearts to this broadcast And of course, I always like to encourage you to set your notification bells. And I watch other programs with other creators with thousands and thousands of followers. And many of them are complaining that the people who support them are not receiving notifications. I'm working on a solution with that. For that, I'm waiting. A little bit down the line, I'm going to start my own text service where I communicate with my group by text, and you'll start receiving text alerts. We're building the email list again, but eventually you'll start receiving text alerts if you're on our list. So you'll know that whenever I'm streaming live or something awesome, dynamic, and powerful is about to drop. I also want to put this up on the screen. Every now and then I present blessed oil. I actually have it on the store on Etsy. I've blessed oil, and I was led to put it there to reach as many people as I can with healing and wholeness. And so I want to encourage you. I think that was a gnat. I want to encourage you. I'm going to put the link up in the well. Let me copy and paste it right quick. Where you can go to my Divine Species store. There's more than one, but this one is with PayHip, and you can go there and get you a bottle, a couple of bottles of blessed oil. I've done this for years. It's manifesting healing, wholeness, all kinds of things. Remember, it's a combination of the deposit of the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, by faith, and then it's your faith. Whenever you apply it to anything, believing that you're going to acquire, results, and you will receive those results. And so just wanted to share that with you. Remind me to share it again at the end of the program. You can use it for health, use it for wealth, use it for whatever. It does work when you exercise faith in the power of the living God that's in you and that's in that oil. All right. So glad to see you today. One more thing we want to share with you. Make sure that you scan this. If you're not on our email list, just take your phone and scan it, and you will join the AG Green Now email list. Matter of fact, I think that takes you to the link tree, and you'll see all the various different places where I am present online and some of the things that I'm doing. Otherwise, connect with every list that you can on there and support in any way you can. I am most certainly appreciative of that in advance. How's everybody doing? Talk back to me. How y'all doing? How y'all doing, as they say? How y'all doing this particular day? How y'all doing? How was your day? How was your week? Remember, this is a subjective response. There is no absolutely positively no judgment zone here. I just want to know from your perspective how you're doing and how your week is going. Talk back to me real quickly, family. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? I don't know why my shirt look like this. It's been ironed, but anyway, how y'all doing? Talk back to me. I'm waiting on some responses in the comment section from YouTube and Facebook. How y'all doing? Talk to me. Talk to me. Let's see. Hillary says, day was great. It's hot. Hope yours was as well. Week is a good week. Awesomeness. Wonderful. Anybody else want to share how you're doing and how your week is going thus far? You know why? Because I'm concerned. And our little community is always chimed in and connected. Let's see. Therapist Jerry Cotton, who's on YouTube, says peaceful and trying to stay cool. Watch out. Yes, sirs. Definitely been hot where we live. Betty Smith, good evening to you, honey. Good to see you on. Anybody else want to share how your day and your week is going thus far? Talk to a brother. How's your day and your week going thus far? All right. Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else want to share how your day and your week is going thus far? All right. I appreciate those who did share. I definitely appreciate those who shared. Now I'm going to resume some teaching. Last week we had a divine interrupt. Whenever the Spirit of God, leads me to take a detour or do something different, I follow the guidance of the Spirit, and was inspired before I came on the air to talk to you about a change of plans. And that word is still vibrant and alive in you now. And so I skipped the teaching that I had prepared to close out on trauma, talking about the steps to coping with trauma or the steps to overcoming trauma. And so I'm going to finish that teaching on tonight. But I got some special teaching I think I'm going to share with you next week on portals. In the upcoming month, there is a powerful portal that's open. Now, I know most Christians don't identify and connect with that. They don't understand energy. They don't understand that they are energy. They don't understand these heavenly bodies, that there is a symbiotic relationship that exists with all life, whether in what we call animate or inanimate form. And so there's some powerful things in the spiritual and metaphysical community. There's a buzz that's going on now. And so I probably would take this time next week and just cover what that portal is about. It happens to be my birthday month as well, coming up. Yeah, show me some love by number one, attending and inviting somebody to attend. And I always take gifts, money or whatever gifts you want to send to me. My birthday month is coming up. But there's a wonderful, powerful portal that I will share with you about probably next week, just for informational purposes. Matter of fact, that portal is open now. The culmination of it is next week. But that portal is open right now. What does it mean for us as spiritual beings? What does that mean in terms of what's happening in the atmosphere that your eyes cannot see? What does that mean for you and I? How has it been approached or dealt with in past centuries before we came here in a body, at least in this form, as ourselves? So I think I'm going to touch a little bit on that and give you some steps on how to connect with it. We don't worship it, but yet there is, I believe, not just an omen, but messages as well as special endowments that can take place during these particular periods. All right. Appreciate y'all being on. I'm going to finish up my conversation with you about trauma. Okay. About trauma. And I'm going to give you some steps in this particular presentation on how to overcome it. Now, we've had a wonderful month, I believe. We've had dynamic topics. National Minority Mental Health Month is what we've been celebrating. And I always like to encourage people, we have to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. But in addition to being transformed by the renewing of our mind, we have to learn how to exact a measure of control over our thinking, over our imagining, over our speaking. And trauma interferes with that. Trauma interferes with faith. Trauma interferes with our co-creation of reality that takes place within. Trauma interferes with our ability to fully express spirituality. And so since it was National Minority Month in terms of Mental Health Month, I thought that it was fitting that we discuss it because I know many have dealt with trauma. Many have dealt with trauma despite what, picture people might try and paint with you in the church or in religious circles. They try and, shout it out. They try and hikamasa it out. They try and, pray it out. But I have discovered that there are some things you have to deal with different strategy. And so I've had some wonderful guests on here, beginning with the wonderful therapist, Jerry Cotton out of St. Louis, who did a marvelous, marvelous, marvelous job talking to us about trauma and helping us to navigate through the steps of identifying it and then dealing with some approaches to dealing with, for solutions with toxic families. We discussed that with him. He did a wonderful job. Then a week after that, Gary Newsom shocked the world by sharing his powerful testimony and the things he experienced and endured. And so it's been a good month. And then, of course, last week I encountered with the Almighty. That was definitely needed, I believe, by all who were on last night. Wonderful statistic here. According to the World Health Organization, 70% of people worldwide experience a traumatic event in their lifetime. I actually believe that it's higher, Jerry, than 70%, because sometimes, many times, these things do not get reported. According to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA, 61% of men and 51% of women report experiencing at least one traumatic event in their lives. And another interesting fact, trauma is considered a leading factor in most behavior and substance use disorders. What that simply means is that trauma exists. We don't say that we're defined by it. We don't call ourselves trauma, but trauma does exist. It's part of experience in this world. And some of the coping mechanisms that people use to cover up that pain and drown out that pain is alcohol, drugs, so forth and so on. So let me do an honest poll here. Let me do an honest poll here. And I'm going to make sure I type my answer in before I ask you. And this is totally voluntary. You're probably going to see my answer pop up first. But how many of y'all have dealt with trauma in your lifetime? How many of y'all have dealt with some kind of trauma in your lifetime? So you see, I've already responded with yes. And this is voluntary. You don't have to answer it. Thank you for the likes and hearts. It impacts the algorithm. Keep them coming. How many of y'all have just simply a yes or a no is fine, have experienced trauma in your lifetime? Let's see. A lot of yeses coming through. All right. All right. A lot of yeses coming through. All right. So I want you to understand that this is a part of our sojourn. This is a part of our sojourn. Damaged people damage other people. And when I say damaged, I also should say people who are unaware they're damaged themselves. There's a certain kind of naivety and ignorance, especially in certain communities as it relates to trauma. And I've met a few people in the last couple of years. I met a few people in the last couple of years, and they were females, and they told me they had no trauma, and they had never experienced trauma, and I ran because this is part of my field. I've been studying this too long. It pretty much touches everybody on the planet in some shape, form, or fashion. And if you are unaware, hear me, family, if you are unaware that you've experienced trauma, or you refuse to own up to your trauma, what that automatically tells me about you is that your emotional IQ is very, very low. Your emotional IQ, your ability to empathize, to vicariously empathize with me, with what I experience in terms of the highs and lows of my emotions or my own personal challenges. You can't appreciate that enough to not only comfort me, but to speak into my life, because as far as you're concerned, you've never experienced it. So you wouldn't know what it's like to experience that kind of hurt and pain. And at the same time, provide empathy and understanding and love and concern. Secondly, if a person cannot acknowledge they've experienced trauma, then it means they haven't dealt with theirs. It means they haven't dealt with it, they haven't resolved it. And so, as it relates to that, that's going to create a lot of complications for people connected to them, and most definitely people that become intimately involved with. All right. Just a little bit of tidbit of information, I needed to just kind of throw out there. So, we're talking about trauma. So, I want you to type it in the comments section, steps to dealing with trauma. Type that in the comment section. Steps to dealing with trauma. Type that in the comment section. Steps to dealing with trauma. Steps to dealing with trauma. Now, I want one of my somebody in the comment section to do me a favor tonight. I could copy and paste it myself, but and I could quote it myself. But I want somebody to find Psalms 42 verses 9 through 11, and I want you to copy it and paste it in the comment section for me, and then I'll put it up. Psalms 42 verses 9 through 11. So find it on the Bible, copy it and paste it, and I'm going to put it up on the screen for all to see on both YouTube and Facebook. I'm waiting on that text to come up. It's the state of mind that David was in when this text was penned. Now, remember when I talked about families, I put up this whole graphic on families. As a matter of fact, let me go. I still have this loaded, queued up somewhere while somebody's looking for that scripture, locating that scripture for me. Let me see. I'm going to put it up on the screen. Let's see. Do I still have it loaded? Should be still in here. Anthony, where's that at? What? Maybe I took it out. I thought I still had it on here. Text 1, 2, 3. Okay, don't see it. It's all good. Look like the text is up, all right, on YouTube. I'm going to read it to you from YouTube. Thank you, Hillary. I will say unto God, my rock, why hast thou forgotten me? Why go I mourning because of the oppression of the enemy? As with the sword in my bones, mine enemies reproach me while they say daily unto me. All right, I think there's more to that text. Here we go. The latter part of the text is, where is thy God? And last but not least, why art thou cast down, O my soul? King James Version. And if there's somebody who has it on Facebook, please put it up. I don't know if you could see that because it's from YouTube when I put it on the screen. If you're on Facebook, copy and paste that for me as well so I can put that up so people on YouTube, on Facebook, can see it as well. This disquieted, naturally in our English, not quiet is how we would define that. But there was a noise, an inner rumbling in the soul, the mind, will, and emotions of David being expressed in this text. He was restless. He was despondent. He was discouraged, apparently because of a series of events, to the point that he felt like God had forsaken him. So again, I bring these biblical illustrations up because I want you to understand that trauma touches pretty every family, and trauma touches everyone regardless of what your belief system is. Trauma is replete in the earth. So David is speaking about not necessarily a traumatic experience, but something that moved him to a place where he was discouraged and where he was depressed. I don't see that scripture being copied and pasted on Facebook yet. First Kings, let's go to First Kings 19 and 4. First Kings 19 and 4. Somebody put that up for me. First Kings 19 and 4. And then I want somebody to find Job 3 and 11 for me. And I'm going to continue by giving you some steps here on how to deal with trauma. And while you're looking for that text, the APA.org, the American Psychological Association, says trauma is an emotional response to a terrible event like an accident, crime, natural disaster, physical, emotional abuse, neglect, experiencing or witnessing violence, death of a loved one, war, and more. Immediately after the event, shock and denial are typical. Longer-term reactions include unpredictable emotions, flashbacks, strained relationships, and even physical symptoms like headaches and nausea. This is from the American Psychological Association, their definition of trauma. And of course, Psychology Today says the word trauma literally means wound, shock, or injury. Wound, shock, or injury. So remember, trauma can be a one-time event or multiple events. Now, I shared with you that the difference between PTSD, and we got a therapist on with us on YouTube. PTSD and post-traumatic stress disorder, and trauma is regular trauma may stay with you a while, but eventually you can get to a point where it's more controllable. Even if you don't get help, you can manage it to some degree. But post-traumatic stress disorder is something that haunts you, and you usually have to reach out for some kind of professional help, or it is something that is recurring in your pattern of thoughts, recurring in your emotions, recurring in your feelings. Sometimes it's in your dreams. That post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's not just for people who went to war. There's people who've been extremely traumatized. You could possibly have that and not even know you have it. All right. So that's kind of the difference between the two. All right. Let's see. All right. We got this. Look like this. Let's see. This is Psalms 42:9. Okay. Thank you, my Krista. Let's see. I was saying to God, my rock, why hast thou forgotten me? Why go I mourning because of the oppression of the enemy? And here David focused and fixated on what his enemy is doing to him. As with a sword in my bones, mine enemies reproach me while they say daily unto me, where is thy God? Now he feels mocked by his enemy. And last but not least, verse 11, why art thou cast down, O my soul? He's speaking about his heart. And why art thou disquieted within me? Hope thou in God, for I shall yet praise him, who is the health of my countenance and my God. So his remedy for this was to focus on God, to somehow, some way, help bring him up out of this state of being. All right. Thank you. Therapist Cotton says, yes, it's reliving the trauma. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you for that confirmation. So as it relates to trauma, as we've been discussing it, I gave you some definitions for trauma. I've shown you biblical families weeks ago who had a lot of, toxicity, not trauma, but toxicity in those families, because we've talked about toxic families. And then we've segued into dealing with personal trauma and trauma within families. So now I'm going to give you some steps. I want to say this to you before I give you the steps. Again, trauma is nothing to be ashamed of. Trauma does not make you abnormal. Trauma does not make you a bad person. Trauma does not mean that there is, something wrong with you to the extent that nobody else has any trauma except you. And the reason I bring this up is because sometimes when people are battling the responses to trauma, they think that they are by themselves, especially in religious circles, because you're taught to be perfect. I've heard people say in the church, the saints shouldn't be depressed. It's just ignorance. It's stupidity to me. I've heard people say that. The saints don't have no business being depressed. If you love God, why are you depressed? Oh, there's a lot of depressed people in scripture. Read. I just quoted from David. That was David expressing his depression. Elijah in 1 Kings 19:4. I don't think anybody ever put that up. Okay, yes, they did on YouTube. Hillary put it up. Here it is. Oh Lord, take my life, for I am not better than my fathers. This was Elijah's response in 1 Kings. Do you know why he responded like that? And could somebody put it up on YouTube for me? You know why he responded like that? Because according to the narrative, Jezebel had killed what he thought was all of the prophets. All of the people, he thought all the people that were on his side, over 800, well, it was quite a few of them, don't remember the exact number, of those prophets were killed, slain by Jezebel because they didn't worship her God. He was traumatized. He had worked a mighty miracle, as we see depicted in scripture. And after he worked that miracle, calling down fire from heaven, Jezebel said, I'm going to kill you like I killed the rest of them jokers. He fled for his life. This is a description of being suicidal. This is Elijah being suicidal. Again, these things happen to us. I don't want you to respond, but I'm talking to people, and I'm not the only one. So I'm always transparent about me. But I'm talking to people right now in this chat who have at some point in time wondered if their life was worth it. Some had challenges with struggling to stay alive, meaning that you thought a lot about killing yourself. And let me say this, typically when people get to that point, it's not just disappointment and frustration. There's something that has happened to you, even if it's a false interpretation of you of what life is, to get you to that point where you're ready to give up. But there are a lot of people who have experienced pain and trauma, repeated pain and trauma, who get to the point where they have suicidal ideation. They consider taking their own lives. And if you're watching me tonight and that's you, I encourage you to get some help. I would say to you, life is worth living, but it's good to have one-on-one conversations with people sometimes who have more objectivity than people you know to speak into your life to help you to understand that your life is worth living. Your life has great purpose, no matter how difficult it is. You can literally think and believe yourself up out of any situation and any circumstance. And then there's Job chapter 3, verse 11. Now, I haven't seen 1 Kings 19 and 4 come up yet on Facebook because I would put it up for them. Maybe somebody can find me Job 3 and 11. Just giving you a few examples because sometimes people who aren't informed will say, well, why are you talking about this? I'm talking about this because many people are dealing with this. You're not the best version of yourself if you're weighed down, controlled, and manipulated by the effects of trauma. You're just not the best version of yourself. All right. So I'm going to share with you right quickly, some symptoms of trauma include shock and disbelief, fear, sadness or grief, helplessness. Many times when people have been victims of a horrendous crime or violent crime or an accident, they are triggered with anxiety or depression that makes them feel like they are just helpless in being able to control their lives, helpless in being able to control their health, helpless in being able to control their situations. There's guilt associated. That's an effect of trauma. Anger is an effect of trauma. Sometimes folk are angry at God, they're angry at their country, they're angry at their family, they're ashamed. That's associated with trauma. And then, of course, relief. Some folks are glad that it's over. Here are some physical symptoms: feeling dizzy or faint, trembling or shaking. And that dizzy or faintness could be a tightening of the stomach, churning of the stomach, butterfly, something that's beyond butterflies in your stomach, trembling or shaking like cold sweats, lump in your throat, rapid breathing, meaning your heart is beating fast, like it's going to, pump out of your chest, difficulty in breathing, racing thoughts. Been there before with thoughts just flowing and flowing and flowing and flowing and flowing. It's like you can't stop it. It's like you can't arrest it. It's like, somebody gave you some speed. Then in those moments, sometimes you have difficulty concentrating, memory problems. Some folk have memory loss, confusion. There are changes in your sleep patterns. There's unexplained aches and pains, loss or increase in appetite. So some people can eat, and then some people overeat when they are dealing with stress. All right. So I want to say this to you before I get into these steps that you can take. That I want you to understand that as it relates to all this, dealing with stress, I want you to be encouraged to know that there's no right or wrong way that you can feel. That's number one. Don't think you have to feel a certain kind of way in dealing with stress. Don't think it has to be perfect. Don't think it has to be neat. Don't ignore your feelings. Recognize that this is going to be a process. Try and do your best to avoid obsession in thinking about the traumatic event. Start trying to reestablish a new routine. And then last but not least, I encourage you to not to make any major decisions if you just experience some trauma or if you're reliving some. All right. It's the worst time for you to make major decisions. Now, here we got it up on Facebook now, 1 Kings 19:4, talking about Elijah, but he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down under a juniper tree, and he requested for himself that he might die and said, "It is enough. Now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers." All right. One of the greatest prophets mentioned in the biblical text is saying, "Kill me, God. Kill me, God." So if you've ever wanted to die, you're in the company of Elijah and so many other greats who are even our contemporaries who have dealt with the effects of trauma and even some suicidal ideations. And I want somebody to get Job 3:11 for me, copy and paste it on YouTube and Facebook, and I'll address it when it comes up. We're going to give you step number 1. So I also want somebody to record these steps for me. All right. I think we got 7 here. So step number 1 is minimize media exposure. Minimize media exposure. Matter of fact, I still want you to type it in the comment section, but I'm going to put it up on the screen. I realize I did prepare that for you in advance. Minimize media exposure. Minimize media exposure. What does that mean? That means if for example, if you were the victim of a horrible beating, you were physically abused, I really don't encourage you to watch a movie like Precious. Okay. I don't encourage you to watch movies where this stuff is highlighted. You know why? It's going to trigger you. It's going to trigger you. If you are traumatized because you walked in on your spouse or you walked in your boyfriend or girlfriend and you caught them cheating and you caught them cheating repeatedly and you've been second, third, fourth, and fifth fiddle and it traumatized you, you probably shouldn't be watching movies where there's a lot of infidelity going on because it's going to trigger you. Not everyone is the same, but I'm saying to you in this process and in this journey of healing, be mindful of what you expose yourself to. Limit your, exposure to events that are similar to what you are in the process of healing from. When you get to a place where you can handle it, then you'll go back to it. And guess what? That might even include the news. That may even include the news. Sometimes you got to turn that news off. If you escape within an inch of your life, you don't want to turn the TV on and hear about folks who didn't make it, folks who got killed. When you were just within an inch of your life, you might start having some physical symptoms. Job 3:11, let's get it. Why died, okay, is that correctly? Why died I not from the womb? I'm sorry. Why died I not from the womb? He's questioning why he didn't die earlier in his life. Why didn't I die in my mother's womb? Why did I not give up the ghost when I came out of the belly? Woo, this is dark talk. This is dark speech coming from Job. A man we say got double for his trouble is going through some things and is saying to us through the writing, thank you, my Krista, why am I still here? I wish I had died inside the belly of my mama. Now, y'all don't have to admit it, whether it was in the younger days of your life or now. Some of y'all have had days that you regretted that you were ever born. You've had days where you regretted that you were ever born. Come on now. You've had days like that you wish that you had not been born. Life can be so challenging and so tough sometimes from what we're dealing with that we can wish we were never born. And as we mature and heal, we stop, wishing that kind of stuff, but it happens. Tip number two, accept your feelings. Step number two, accept your feelings. This information is being extracted from an article on helpguide.org. Great stuff. Accept your feelings. Accept your feelings. And you're going to have all kinds of emotions, multiplicity in terms of a variety of emotions, shock, anger, and guilt. Just accept it. They're just normal reactions. All right? That's all they are. You got to give yourself time to heal and mourn any losses you may have experienced. Don't try to force healing. Learn how to be patient. Okay? It's a recovery process. Also, I want to encourage you, be prepared because you're going to deal with some difficult and volatile emotions. Allow yourself to feel whatever you feel without guilt or judgment. And I want you to learn how to reconnect with uncomfortable emotions. Let's talk about this for a few minutes. Let's talk about this. Again, if you're taught that you're supposed to perform and act a certain way at all times, then when trauma starts surfacing in your life, many people who are trying to trust God, believe God, or they have the role in the family of being strong and carrying everybody's burdens and everybody's shoulders, when they experience trauma, many times they find it difficult to accept their feelings, their emotions, their thoughts in the moment. And I want to encourage you that how you feel is how you feel. Trauma is a serious, deep thing. I gave you the statistics on how it impacts the world. I just showed you a few illustrations in scripture where people were dealing from the effects of trauma, including Job and his statement that he wished he had died in his mother's womb. This is his response to the trauma of sickness. Sickness is traumatic as well. That wasn't listed or in the list of things that I mentioned, but that could be traumatic for people. But this mask you put on, and this is what the saints do. The saints can be so down, and don't get me wrong, I'm all about positive speech and positive talk, but I also realize we have to learn to confess our faults, and I also realize there are therapeutic, cathartic situations where you just need to let it out how you feel or what you're dealing with. I'm not telling you to tell 40 people that. There might be a few people you can trust, but at some point in time, that's why the scripture comes into play. The strong are to bear the infirmities of the weak. There's somebody you should be able to lean on at some point in time in your life. So this is what the saints do. They just went through the most horrible thing in their life. And they'll say, I'm getting through, I'm struggling. Oh, it's just tough. And and then they might start crying but God got me. I'm all right. I'm all right. Everything's gonna be all right. Then they start quoting a few scriptures and oh yeah, you don't have to worry about me. And I have to tell people, I've been telling people this for years, and I've learned that some of the people I talk to repeatedly have started, stealing my phrase, but I've told them it's all right not to be all right. It's all right not to be all right. Come on, let's type that in the comment section and own this. Type it in the comment section. It's all right not to be all right. It's all right not to feel all right. Type that in the comment section. It's all right not to feel all right. I stopped saying years ago when I was listening to preachers eulogize folk at funerals, telling them not to cry. Telling folk not to cry in a funeral. I'm thinking, what in the Sam Hill is this? What? Don't cry. Somebody's mama just died. Somebody's daddy just died. Somebody's uncle just died. Somebody's child just died. Somebody's spouse just died. Somebody's best friend just died. And you telling them not to cry? And then you want to quote Paul's text, we don't sorrow as those who have no hope. That's not the context of that text. If you love somebody and they die physically, you're going to cry. If they meant anything to you, you're going to weep, cry, and shed some tears. It's just as simple as that. It's going to happen. So let it out. If you're yet dealing with trauma 10 years later, 15 years later, we want you to be healed from it. Whatever you're feeling is what you're feeling. And we'll get to the last step in a few minutes. I believe 7 is about seeking out professional help. But there are things you can do along the way to help yourself. And the first thing is to accept that I don't always have to be Superman or Superwoman. I want you to type this in the comment section. I don't always have to wear my superhero cape. Type that in the comment section. I don't always have to wear my superhero cape. Type that in the comment section. I don't always have to wear my superhero cape. Let me see how I'm doing on time. All right. I don't always have to wear my superhero cape. And let me say this to especially people who do a pretty good job in managing their emotions and you try and be there for other people. Be careful too who you allow yourself to be vulnerable with. I just realized as a leader, a spiritual leader for years, I've encouraged at this point in my life thousands of people, literally, and that's not exaggerating, thousands of people. But sometimes when it's your turn to break down, sometimes when it's your turn to take your cape off, the same people you empathize with, were patient with, were loving with, you loved on them, you guided them through, you connected in such a way with them where they felt comfortable just, dismantling like a blob in your presence. And it was all right with you. These folk can't always handle you, though, in the situation they were in. And sometimes they get preachy. Come on now. They get preachy with you. Sometimes they try and get stern and firm with you in the moment. You having a moment. You need somebody to have your back like you had their back. So you do at times have to be careful. You have to be careful because everybody's not qualified to console you. Everybody's not qualified to sit with you in your sadness, in your depression. And in this story of Job, he discovered that. I mean, the friends were pretty pathetic in terms of being able to support him and their theological, philosophical, ideological viewpoints of the divine and of Job were incredibly skewed. They simply misjudged him. And people in the moment, come on, you stronger than this. You was there for me. And the Bible says such and such, such and such, such and such. And then somebody just died. Well, they're in heaven now. Please stop that. When folk immediately after they immediately died. I mean, just stop that. People are too busy grieving the fact that they're not here in body. They're glad that they're in a better place, that part of them. But there's a natural human side of them that's grieving. And you telling them they in heaven is not going to help them. I just threw that in for free. All right. Number 3, challenge your sense of helplessness. Did I put that in there correctly? Challenge your sense. I'm sorry, I put hopelessness. It should be helplessness. Somebody type that up for me in the comment section. Step number 3, challenge your sense of helplessness, not hopelessness, but helplessness. Challenge that. And the way you challenge it is through positive action. It's not you saying to yourself, I'm not helpless, I'm not helpless, I'm all right, I'm all right. That's not what the remedy or the solution is. The solution is through positive action to get up and do something to help with your feelings. It might be that you volunteer your time. It might be that you decide to help somebody with a project. You might get involved, with something that's going on in somebody else's life. You might help somebody move. You might, help somebody plan, whatever it is. Do something positive. All right. Do something positive. Let me tell you why this is powerful. I'm giving an example as it relates to depression. Do you realize that there are studies that show that people cope with depression sometimes better when they exercise? Now, we agree that's a physiological thing because there's some things illuminating in your brain, and then there's blood moving, so forth and so on. But also, it's the movement. It's you focusing on the exercise. It's you in the moment of participating in something that helps take your mind off of the trauma or off of the sadness. And then last but not least, of course, because certain hormones and serotonin and some of these other things in our brain are increased when we exercise, then yes, we do feel better. All right. But do something in terms of a positive action. This is going to help counteract these effects of trauma. And then number 4, let's see, is that up on the screen? Number 4, get moving, which is what I just kind of discussed. For example, exercising can burn off adrenaline and release feel-good endorphins. Feel-good endorphins. So add some exercise. Climb some rocks, box somebody, do some weight training, some martial arts. Just a little side. Sex is good too for this. But I don't want to get into all that. Y'all might, you might start getting excited. Anyway, boost your energy. This is a way to boost your energy and motivation. Listen to some music you like. Dance a little bit. Okay. Exercise. You might want to do an extra set of exercises. Get yourself moving. Get your body moving. I'm going to ask you a question as I'm putting up the next part for the screen. Has anybody ever felt better after they exercise? Let me see your comments in the chat. Anybody ever felt better after they exercise? Do something pleasurable. Anybody ever felt better after they exercise? And we're talking about positive counteractions. I got a yes. Thank you, Vasquetta. Got another yes. All right. It makes a difference. And sometimes we struggle to get to the point where we exercise, but once you start it and get into it, you do feel better. So these are some positive ways thus far to cope. Because as I said, as we shared the statistic with you before, that there's a high statistical number in terms of people using substances to cope with trauma when there are more positive things. Sometimes people need medications. I get that. Sometimes you need a mood enhancer. Do you know that there are natural mood enhancers? Now, I'm not a psychiatrist to be prescribing anything, but you can Google it. I've taken many over the years, many variations of many things over the years. And I know some of y'all probably smoke weed and, you do other stuff. And my thing is, no judgment here. You just don't want to do anything that is addictive, that your brain gets addicted to, that it now think it is required to have just to live, to cope, or to make it through life. It's one thing when people do things occasionally, St. John's worts, other stuff that's out there and whatever. There's a lot of good stuff out there, to be honest. And like I said, some of y'all using CBD, whatever, whatever you use is whatever you use. I'm not here to analyze that or nothing. You just don't want to become addicted to it. I don't see no likes and hearts. I'm on somebody's street. You don't want to have to be high all the time. Listen. If some of us have dealt with some stuff that if we had resorted to that, we would have stayed high and drunk all the time. Because at one point in time, it seemed like there was always something going on. So we try and learn positive coping mechanisms. And if you do something like that occasionally, that's you. But I see people get addicted because they use it as a way to try and escape. And before you know it, yes, it is mastering. That substance has mastered you. And it can happen so quickly. It can happen before you know it. You've been doing it 30, 40 days. And next thing you know, you say, okay, I'm going to stop doing this. And then all of a sudden you get the jitters. And then there's another kind of reaction that your body starts giving off or starts releasing that wasn't there before. So just keep that in mind. Number 5, reach out to others. Reach out to others. And when we discuss reaching out to others, I'm not talking about reaching out to family and friends to discuss your business. You don't have to discuss your business. All right. You're just, reaching out to some people to socialize. You're reaching out to some people so you won't be sitting in a corner or sitting in a spot or sitting in a situation and constantly rehearsing and rehearsing and rehearsing the effects or rehearsing the trauma. Some people might need to expand your social circle. Okay. But connect with people. Call up your sister, brother, if you got a decent relationship with them, or whoever God or the Almighty has placed in your life. Text, call. You might want to show up at their house. Whatever. Go out to eat somewhere. Go to a movie. Hang out. All right. And I'm saying this especially to people who have busy schedules, who are trying to cope with trauma. You've got to take time for yourself. I want you to type the hyphenated word, I think it's hyphenated, self-care in the comment section. Type self-care in the comment section. It is important that you practice self-care. It is important that you practice self-care. Type that in the comment section. Self-care is very, very, very important. A lot of people say, I don't have the time, I don't have the money. It's not about the time or the money. You don't always have to have money to enjoy yourself or to connect with people. I understand that logic, but really it's a flawed logic. Believe that whatever is necessary to contribute to the enjoyment of your activity is provided, and that doesn't always require money. Self-care is important. Don't be afraid to shut it down. Don't be afraid to take your kids somewhere. Don't be to the babysitter and take 2 hours, or don't be afraid to get up early before everybody else and do whatever it is you want to do. Don't be afraid to escape. Don't be afraid to get away. Don't be afraid to disappear. Don't be afraid to do that. That's very, very therapeutic. Sometimes when you have multiple responsibilities, meaning with other people, you lose track and focus of yourself, especially when you are recovering from trauma. All right. The next thing, step number 6, make stress reduction a priority. Make stress reduction a priority. So typically in the aftermath of a traumatic event, there's an excessive amount of stress that we carry. Cortisol and all these other kinds of hormones are released in our bodies. And one of the reasons why I'm a big proponent of meditation, deep breathing, exercising, I know y'all say yoga is demonic. It's not demonic. And other kinds of activities out there, reading a book, take a bath, enjoy a funny movie or something. Do something that's going to help reduce the stress. Did I say a word there, or did I say a word there? You don't want to push yourself as you are recovering and being restored to the point where you're adding more stress to your life. All right. Let me ask you a question. I want honest answers. I don't care what you say. What helps you de-stress? What's a good activity that helps you de-stress? What helps you de-stress? I want to see. Talk back to me, family. What helps you de-stress? What helps you cope with stress? What activities are relaxing for you? What activities are relaxing for you? Let me see. I want to see what your activities are. Let's see. All right. Hillary says meditation, car rides, naps. Good stuff. Betty says reading. Uh-huh. Okay. Who else? Who else? Let's see. Somebody, Krista says lately working out. Okay. Dr. Thomas says deep breathing, awesomeness, awesomeness. Yes, all good things. Isolation, that's good too. Hmm. Anybody else? Anybody else? There's no judgment here. Let's see. Uh, Walking by the river, watching comfort movies, reading a good book, eating a good snack. That's good, Squitter. Let's see. Therapist Cotton on YouTube says reading, exercise, car rides, meditation. Wow. Y'all made some great, great, great suggestions there. So, with some of these things that you suggested and a couple other things that y'all do, you have to learn. Uh, yes, out in nature is another good one. Matter of fact, it's kind of on my list of things to talk to. We should learn how to connect with our environment. We should learn how to ground ourselves with the earth. Grounding goes all the way back to Africa, being in touch with nature and our surroundings. All these things, taking a walk in the park. You know, I've discovered in my own life that I haven't spent enough time looking up, and I haven't spent enough time enjoying nature, and I haven't spent enough time enjoying the planet. And whether you realize it or not, you're connected to this planet, and this planet is connected to you. It is no coincidence, hear me, it is no coincidence that there are certain percentages of atoms on the periodic table that exist in the human body, exist in the soil. But did you also know that there are components, traces of these gases and these things on the periodic chart that make up the physical composition that are the same in the stars as well? That's a deeper message behind that I don't want to mess you up with. We're connected to all this, and we get so focused on the cars we drive and the houses we live in and going in and out until we don't stop to pause to just enjoy the beauty of nature. You'll be amazed at how calming it is. Our ancestors knew that. The Indians knew that. Somehow, some way it has escaped us to reconnect with the earth itself. All right. Reconnect with the earth itself. It's a powerful thing to have calm you down. There's nothing like going to a pond and watching fish swim or watching people walk by or a cool breeze blowing off your face or paying attention to a squirrel going up and down the tree or watching a rabbit in the corner do its thing. It's just nothing like it when you take your time and just connect with it. So these are things that you can use as a part of your strategy in terms of, a coping mechanism. The next thing is eat and sleep well. Eat and sleep well. So I want you to understand that food can improve or worsen our mood and affect our ability to cope with traumatic stress. Truthfully, sometimes we're not eating enough live, healthy foods to build our immune system and support our organs, which can become severely depleted all the way down to our bones. When we are stressed in fight or flight, our body is using everything it can to keep us alive, and it depletes the storehouse. Well, if you replenish what's depleted with a bunch of junk food, I want you to understand that the chemicals in that food is going to have a negative impact on your brain, a negative impact on your psyche. All right? Hear me. Now, watch this. There are some foods we do have to be careful about. Let me make sure it's something here. I don't like the way I'm looking. Make sure that my quality is still good. There are certain foods we do have to be careful about. Um, but I'm a lover of chocolate. Do you realize that chocolate, there's a high that you get, a spike, a sugar spike, and some other things. There's especially in dark chocolate. Now, dark chocolate is better for you than the lighter brown chocolate. But I ain't gonna lie, I love me some sweets. I love me some chocolate. And you'll feel better eating you some chocolate, but you can't just continue to do that. Fortunately, these days I eat pretty healthy. I'm a vegan. I don't eat meat. I haven't ate it for quite a while. It was accidental. It wasn't intentional. It just happened. But the point I'm making is you got to put the right stuff in your body to be able to help you, even on a brain chemistry level. So that means you might have to cut back on convenience food, refined carbohydrates, sugary snacks. Do you realize that these can worsen symptoms of traumatic stress? Okay. So try and incorporate fresh fruits and vegetables, high quality protein, healthy fats, stuff like omega-3 fatty acids. They help us cope better with the ups and downs of life. Okay. So let me ask you another question. Be honest now. Y'all be honest. Y'all be honest. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being terrible, 10 being great, rate your food lifestyle for me. 1 to 10, 1 being poor, 10 being great. Rate your food lifestyle. Let me see you. Let me see what you're going to say. Rate your food lifestyle. Rate your food lifestyle. Yeah, I love me some sweets. Chocolate, cakes. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, I love them. I ain't gonna lie about it. Let's see. We got some ratings here. That's all right, Von Squitter. She says she's got a 4. Betty's got a 7. The child's got a 5 to 6. Hillary's got a 6 to 7. Okay. Okay. Krista, what? She's got a 3. Okay. So that means that we all have room for improvements. And mine is a 7 or an 8. And don't get me wrong, it's not because I'm vegan, because you have vegans that eat horribly too. I just don't eat a lot. And matter of fact, I probably dropped another 10 pounds in the last week because I went back to my protein diet, where I expanded when I was bulking up, toning up years ago, which I'm doing again. A high protein diet always helps you with your metabolic functions as well as losing weight, stuff like that. Let's see, therapist Jerry Cotton says he is an 8-ish. Okay. So we need a lot of water, right? We need a lot of water. We require natural juices. Okay. Natural juices. And of course, we talked about fruits and we talked about vegetables. All right. And this is what a herbologist, certified, all of that, who's helped heal people through nutrition, told me years ago when he's helping with something, probably, 10 years ago now, maybe or longer. He was saying that, in teaching me how to eat differently, he was saying that one mistake people make is that when they eat something bad, he said they should try and follow it up with something that's healthy, that helps with the digestive process, but also helps with their nutritional level. So my thing is, if you're gonna eat a hamburger, can you grab a piece of fruit with that, please? And stop saying that you got green leafy stuff on a hamburger when you know that lettuce is probably romaine lettuce, which is not the healthiest lettuce anyway. You need the darker one, lettuces, like not lettuce, excuse me, but you need the darker plants like spinach and plants in that family, high in protein, nutrients, extremely healthy. Okay. So we got to eat better, family. We got to eat better. Come on, let's do it. Let's eat better. Who going to eat better? Who going to try and eat better? So let me have to put a health challenge on and see how folk are eating. Listen, let me tell you, you feel better when you eat better. You feel better when you exercise, and you feel better when you eat more nutritional meals. Try and balance it out. Okay. I haven't been a consumer of junk food in years. And that's not to say that there aren't things out there that I can't eat. Like if we go to a fast food restaurant, I might get fries or onion rings or something like that. But, and I still like those foods. I just choose not to partake of it. You know why? Because I don't want there to be uh, an activation genetically of what's considered to be family traits. That's the whole thing that led to my massive weight loss and shift of health is when they tried to put me years ago on a diabetic medication. I decided I've seen it happen too many times in my family, and I couldn't go that route. And this is another thing I want to bring up. If you already have medical or physical challenges in your life, stress can exaggerate that. It can make that worse. If you're struggling with a heart condition, struggling with high blood pressure, I just mentioned diabetes, struggling with other things in your body, stress, the effects of the stress from the trauma can aggravate that. And I'm a firm believer in what was discovered in the early 1900s. One doctor is on record in the 50s, one of the leading doctors in the 60s, said that most of the people who came in his office, this was in like the 60s, he said they were in his office with diseases that were stress related, that were created by stress. So again, when we eat healthy and we get moving, it helps to counteract the effects of stress in our bodies. Your heart responds better, right? Your lungs respond better. Your blood is in better condition. Your muscles, your limbs, of course, your brain, your kidneys, all of these things are functioning at a higher level when we eat better. So again, this is also a part of the plan. Last but not least, remember, foods can alter mood. Foods can alter your mood. Type that in the comment section for me. Foods can alter your mood. Somebody type that. Everybody type that in the comment section for me. Foods can alter your mood. Give me a couple more minutes, family. I'm going to be done. Type it in the comment section. Foods can alter your moods. So let me ask everybody here: Have you ever ate something before that either after you ate it made you feel better or made you feel worse? Let me hear a yes or a no. Have you ever ate something and when you got done, you felt better or you felt worse? For example, if you're eating a bunch of food with grease in it, a bunch of greasy foods, you're gonna go down eventually because your body's the digestive system has to deal with that grease, and then its absorption into the bloodstream and passing through all these organs. And a lot of times people feel drained and tired and fatigued and just want to go somewhere and go to sleep because of that heavy, unhealthy food they're eating. So you can eat foods where when you're done, you just want to go in the corner and go to sleep, or you can eat foods that when you're done, you're just excited, you feel revved up. Well, let me help you with something. There are certain people who specialize in prescribing natural things for people who are struggling with stress and struggling with depression that helps their mood. So understand that the foods you eat can alter your mood in a positive or negative way. Okay. Last but not least, we said eat and sleep well. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 terrible and 10 is great. How well do you sleep on average? 1 is terrible, 10 is great. Rate yourself. How well do you sleep on average? 1 is terrible, 10 is great. How well, on average, do you sleep? Let's see here. We got an 8, all right? We got an 8, we got a 5, we got a 3, we even got a 9.5. My Lord, that's good. We got a 5, another 5, we got a 7. Okay. So some of you all who are not sleeping, having good consistent sleep every night, maybe the people who are in the 3 and the 5 range, have you noticed that sometimes you're irritable or irritated or tired or sluggish? That's a yes or no. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see your responses. Have you noticed that when you don't sleep well, you might wake up tired or you wake up feeling drained or sometimes you're a little edgy or irritable? Okay, we got some yeses coming in. I should have did a workup on sleep. I didn't know this rating with sleep was gonna be this high. Family, y'all got to get some sleep. There are so many powerful, potent things that happen when you sleep. Number one, the body rids itself of all the toxins while you sleep. Number two, I learned this when I started, changing my lifestyle about 4 or 5 years ago. Do you realize that if you get 6 to 8 hours sleep a night, you should lose 1 to 2 pounds while you sleep? Did you know that? There were times once I read that, I would weigh myself before I went to bed just to see if it worked. I would wake up the next morning, sometimes 2 or 3 pounds lighter. Yeah, it's true. Do you know that your body offers a reset down to the cellular level when you go to sleep? Do you know that there's a circadian rhythm that's in alignment with the moon and other things, that when you're not sleeping, having the proper amount of sleep is out of rhythm? Did you know that your mind resets when you sleep? So all the collection of the thoughts for the day go down in subconscious. Sometimes they come out in dreams, but there's a clearing out of what you had in the order of estimation, examination, calculation, intellectual operations for that particular day. Did you know that a lot of problems get solved when you sleep because your conscious mind is pretty much neutralized? Your subconscious or spirit mind is always awake. That's when we hear from God. That's when we hear from our higher self or the spirit mind when we sleep. Do you know that many, many answers, many, many inventions, and I just covered this recently, happen when people fall asleep at night or take naps throughout the day? Solutions come and they surface. So when you are depriving yourself of good sleep on average, we know from time to time we may go through insomniac periods where we only get 2 or 3 hours or 4 or 5 hours. That happens to me. Sometimes it's because I need to get up and meditate. I need to pray. I need to write. I need to do something. But for the most part, you should be trying to get at least 6 hours of sleep a night. So understand this. If you're dealing with the effects of trauma, even if it's from 15 years ago, your mind and body is struggling in the process of recovery if you are not providing it with enough rest to recuperate and restore itself, again, beginning with the brain to the heart, all the way down to your feet. Sleeping, getting a rest is very, very, very important. And so if you're functioning, you can function like this. And some people's bodies adapt to it, but it's accumulative. With many people over time, it catches up with you. Might not bother in your 20s, might not bother in your 30s, might not bother in your 40s, but amount of times when people get in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, sometimes their bodies, I've heard this before. Do you realize that they can do a test to tell you how old your body really is chronologically? So this is why I'm not in the old movement, want to be old movement, because I understand that I have a measure of control concerning how I age. It starts with my thinking. It starts with my nutrition, thinking, nutrition, and fitness. Okay. But there are people, watch this, who die, and maybe they were 70 when they died, but they took care of themselves. They've done these tests to show that they might have a 50-year-old body and have a chronological age of 70. Then I know people who've died when they were like in their 50s or 60s, and they wore themselves out. They didn't get enough sleep. They ripped and ran. They worked from sun up to sundown when they didn't have to. They very rarely took vacations. I know of reports coming back from doctors of people who died like when they were in their 60s, and they said this man had the body of a 90-year-old when he died. Seen it. So even your rest, family, helps you cope with stress, and even your rest helps you deal with the effects of trauma, of dealing with trauma. Some people are not thinking clearly because you are not resting. And listen to this, and then I'm going to be done. When you go to sleep, watch this, with problems, and then you sleep 3 or 4 hours and you wake up thinking about those problems. You don't go back to bed. You go throughout your day. You might catch you a 30-minute cat nap in the afternoon. I want you to understand that your body is repeatedly missing its healing, restorative, regenerative cycle, from the psyche to the physical or physiological, even to the spiritual. You are missing that state. You're missing that cycle. Am I making any sense to anybody? So while we're on here, what do you think are some things you can do to help you sleep better? What are some things you think you can do? And we don't mention sex. We know that helps folks sleep, but we ain't talking about that now. Some of y'all probably can't even do that every night anyway. I'm just saying, what can you do? Because I want solutions before I get off here. What's your solution? First of all, let me ask the question: who gonna do better trying to get more rest by trying to get more rest? Let me see a yes or no. If you said no, it's not gonna hurt my feelings. Who gonna try and get more rest from now on? Okay, talk back to me. Who gonna try and get more rest? And then I want to hear your solutions. I already got one from Von Squatter talking about eating better. Okay, we got one yes. Who else gonna try and do better? Got two yeses. Okay. Now, y'all supposed to remind me we're in the midst of a gratitude challenge. We're thanking God and being grateful every day for something. We're expressing that. Okay. So we're in the midst of doing that too. All right. So we got eat better. All right. That came from Von Squatter. That's good. You can eat certain foods that increase melatonin levels in your body and help with the circadian rhythm so that when nightfall comes, it starts winding itself down. Food will help you with that too. There's certain foods you can eat to help with that. I'm going to eventually have my brother Andrew on. I've been talking to him about coming on. We can talk about some of this stuff when he comes on. Let's see. We got stick to a created routine. Okay, that's good. It's from Hillary. We also have from Therapist Cotton, consistently go to bed and wake up. Consistent go to bed and wake up time, no exceptions. That's true. You should learn how to put yourself on a schedule. All right. If you don't put yourself on a schedule, then yes, you're more likely to not be consistent when you go to bed as far as when you get up. Okay. Let's see. Pastor Janet says stick with a normal routine. Yes. Stop overthinking now. Von Squatter, that's good. And that's a challenge for some of us sometime, to stop overthinking. I got some suggestions for that, and I really need to let y'all go because I kept you over time. Let's see. Stop eating by a certain time and get bedtime routine earlier. That's good, Chris. Let's see. And Therapist Cotton, yes, no screen time 1 hour before sleep. Now, that's one thing I was going to say. You got to be careful about being on your electronic devices. Many doctors and psychologists are recommending that you don't watch TV and be on your screens Yes, I think it's around an hour before you go to sleep. And people don't understand that your brain is wound up, intensely focused on whatever it is you're scrolling and watching. And when it's time for you to calm it down, it doesn't want to calm down. And then those flashing lights does have an impact on brain function too. There are studies out about that. So yes, my thing is I usually listen to, if I'm not watching a movie, which I do occasionally, and my son was here with me for a while, and I would do that with him while he was here. But I generally like to unwind and finish my day with educational stuff, audiobooks, sometimes a physical book, sometimes an audio book, and then a meditation. I want to think about something before I go to bed that I want to see manifest in this world. That's a whole nother discussion. So you got to be careful with how much screen time, as they say. True. Also, eating, you should try and stop eating at a certain time. My thing is, if you're going to eat after the time you should eat, just don't eat no heavy, greasy stuff. Eat some fruits and vegetables or some protein. All right. Now, as far as the thinking part is concerned, that's a good point. And I got the therapist on here with YouTube. I'm going to see if he can throw up a couple of suggestions for me to share with you. I use meditation to slow down my thinking. Sometimes reading slows down my thinking. Um, you've got to find a way and see, this is how I am. I am a thinker. And I used to be a quite a horrific insomniac because I am a thinker. When I say thinker, I mean, from an intellectual standpoint, my mind is always somewhere. And sometimes my spirit is somewhere, but I couldn't shut it off at night. And there were times I would get up to go to the restroom and couldn't go back to sleep because as soon as I got up, I was thinking. So on my way to the restroom, I'm thinking. On my way back from the restroom, I'm thinking. And by the time I get into bed, I can't go to sleep. I'm up another 3 or 4 hours. So with me, I just say, okay, let me get up and work on something. Let me get up and do something. All right. So there are some things you can do. Meditation. You might want to stretch. There it is. Therapist Cotton suggests stretching your body before you go to bed to help overthinking. Thank you, sir. Stretch. Any of y'all ever stretch before you go to bed? Now, they don't recommend exercising before you go to bed, but I've done that before, and sometimes I couldn't sleep, but then other times I was so exhausted I did go to sleep. But that stretching thing, I believe that will work. That stretching thing will work. All right. He's also suggesting various deep breathing exercises. Who's familiar with deep breathing? I know Dr. Childs mentioned it. Dr. Thomas, excuse me, mentioned it. Anybody else? Anybody else uh, familiar with deep breathing techniques? Anybody else? He's suggesting that too. That's good. Deep breathing techniques. I'm asking because some folk don't have a lot of knowledge of that. In meditation, you can also have a separate branch from that. There's a whole different branch from that in how to breathe. Okay. So you can try your deep breathing techniques. You can always Google it. I'm asking because I don't mind doing some teaching on it in the future. So stretching, let me see who's paying attention. I want you to put it in the comment section, some of these suggestions. Stretching, and what else did we say? We said stretching and what? Deep breathing. Type it in the comment section. Stretching and deep breathing. Stretching and deep breathing. And then I'm going to give you one last solution, and I'm going to be done. One last solution, I'm going to be done. It is donation time. If you want to give, use the Cash App at the bottom of the screen. The AG Green Ministries Cash App is about to be closed. I had to open up AG Green now because Cash App has changed the rules. You can use that. All right, let's see it. We got it here. Stretching and deep breathing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, the last thing I'm going to suggest is find you, if these things do not work for you, find you a natural sleep sedative. See, Dr. Child says she's teaching her daughter breathing technique. Wonderful, wonderful. So for self-regulation and calming as well. Awesomeness. I heard Iyanla, she's raising her grandson, said the same thing. She's taught her child meditation, deep breathing, and when he was in kindergarten, the teachers were so amazed. All other kids all up all over the place, and he's as calm and cool and calm as a cucumber, or as the late Stuart Scott said, as cool as the other side of the pillow. It works, family. Wow. If you can teach your children at a young age techniques like this, whew, let me tell you, they'll manage their mind, will, and emotions at an elite level and accomplish great things. The last thing I want you to type it in the comments section: natural sleep aids. Thank you for the likes and hearts. Type natural sleep aids. Natural sleep aids. All right. Let's see. Therapist Jerry Cotton is saying recreate your sleeping space. That's good. Change your mattress, sheets. Some people like candles, pillows. That's right. Shift that atmosphere. Love it. Y'all see that? Some of y'all might need to change your bed around, change your sheets, get you some satin sheets. Some of y'all might need to light a candle, count some SHEEP, some sheep. You might need a better pillow, excuse me. Awesomeness. Yes, sir. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. So Pastor Jan is suggesting magnesium. That works. Okay. Magnesium works. Anybody else got any suggestions before we get off here? Pastor Janice said magnesium. That's good. It definitely works. There are natural herb combinations out there I take from time to time. I like to keep them on hand, especially when I'm traveling. But magnesium is in some of these products that I've used in the past. Let's see. You got skull cap. You got, matter of fact, you got in these stores, you got sleepy time tea. You got an extra sleepy time tea. Some of these same ingredients, there we go, melatonin. Put that up, melatonin. Some of these same ingredients in like those teas are in pill form. That's usually how I take them, in pill form. And they help you calm down and digest. Calm down, excuse me, and unwind at the end of the night. Melatonin is something our body makes, but we buy it to enhance the supply we have in our bodies. So that definitely is something that does help go to sleep. And there's a lot of adults giving their children that melatonin at night. You know what I'm talking about. All right, let's see. Yes, showers and baths before bed sometimes help you sleep better too. That's right. It's nothing like taking a hot shower. I don't know, some of y'all might take a cold one too, but whatever. The effects of the shower calms you down, and those brain waves start slowing down, and you start heading toward that sleep state. So yes. Dr. Childs is asking about a good sleep pillow. I don't know much about pillows. Anybody know a good sleep pillow? Because I really don't know too much about pillows. I probably need some new ones myself, but anybody have any suggestions on sleep pillows right quick before we go? So these are some things. We just arm you with some solid information. Were you informed tonight? Were you informed tonight? Were you informed tonight? And we're still waiting on suggestions for sleep pillows. If anybody has a suggestion for Dr. Thomas before we get off concerning sleep pillows or pillows for sleeping. Anybody else have any suggestions? I can't think of any off the top of my head, but if I come into the knowledge of that, Dr. Thomas, I'll relay it to your inbox it to you. Anybody else have any suggestions concerning that before we get off? I also want to remind you, I put it in the comment section earlier, where you can get some blessed oil from one of my sites. If you choose to do it, make sure you visit that link that I put in the comment section earlier. All right. I know it's going to be a blessing to you. Can't think of any sleep If anybody has any suggestions later, you can forward them to me and I'll forward them to Dr. Thomas. Thank you. How y'all feeling? Y'all feeling better now? Y'all feeling better after receiving this information? You feeling armed? You feeling empowered? I hope so. I hope so. All right. Use the giving opportunities at the bottom of the screen should you like to. I love you and I appreciate you. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Thank you so much. You got steps to work with. Dr. Thomas, you still on here? See, Pastor Janet suggesting, well, she's talking about cool fabric, cool jammies, PJs that are made with cool fabric and cool jammies. Okay. That's about pajamas. Okay. What you sleep in too does make a difference. All right. What you sleep in, don't get me wrong, I'm trying not to, sound risque. I know some of y'all don't like pajamas, nothing. That works for you, fine. But if you're sleeping in clothes, she just made a suggestion and something about the fabric that we sleep. Yes, you do need to pay attention to the fabric that you sleep in. It can hinder or help your sleep. All right. Awesomeness. Love you all so dearly tonight. Thank you for your love and for your support. And I'm going to release you with the shalom blessing. I got some other videos coming up on the channel later this week that I'll be making especially for you. So make sure you keep watching the channel every week. All right. I'm glad y'all good. I'm glad you're in a better place. And I know that you're going to master and overcome trauma. You're taking these steps. And you're also taking these other pieces of information in terms of advice. You apply it for nutrition. You apply it for sleep. And let me tell you something. You're going to feel like a new creature within the next few days. Okay. Somebody just Googled it. Let's see. Vasquella says she just Googled sleep pillows. I don't know if Dr. Thomas is still on. That's like Sattva latex pillow. Best memory foam sleep is the foundation. Shredded memory foam pillow. Most comfortable. Brook linen down pillow. Best value silken snow pillow. Best for side sleepers. Eline M. Cotton side sleeper pillows. Okay. Very good. So there's some suggestions there for pillows because some of y'all might need to switch out your pillows as well. All right. I release you with the shalom blessing. Shalom, shalom, peace, wholeness, and prosperity. Nothing missing and nothing broken. See y'all soon. Love you. Have a great night.